Okay, so what I want to talk about now is the concept of built-in functions in MATLAB. I'm going to go ahead and close this script file here. And so MATLAB allows you to use what we call built-in functions. They're like libraries where you don't have to necessarily write the code from scratch, and you can call them from within MATLAB, either the command line or in your script file, and it'll make your coding a little shorter and a lot easier. So some of these built-in functions are common trigonometric functions that you would see in your math courses: square root, sine, cosine, log, tangent, just basic mathematical functions that you would also utilize in your calculator. But the thing is, with MATLAB, what we want to talk about today is the options of having built-in functions that have single inputs, single outputs, multiple inputs, multiple outputs, and a combination of those. So for example, let's go ahead and define a variable x equal 9, or 9 is assigned the value, x is assigned the value of 9. That is the proper way of reading that. So now we've defined x, and if I do sqrt, which is a built-in function of x, that's essentially just going to take the square root of x. Okay, so that's an example of a built-in function. One thing I want you to notice here is that because I just said square root of x, it gave me a default variable ans is equal to 3, and that's what's populated in my workspace. Normally you would say y equals the square root of x, and you could assign a variable there. So where in this case, if I'm gonna click on the up arrow, say y equals the square root of x. Why am I doing it here? So you can see that you have one output, which is the y, and one input, which is the x. So now you have one output, one input. This is one example of a built-in function in MATLAB. Another thing I want to point out is that the input to these functions does not necessarily have to be a scalar. And actually, in most cases, they're going to be matrices or vectors or arrays. Okay, so I can redefine my x as using square brackets. Okay, 4, 9, 16, and of course I can separate these. I can either use this or put commas in between them. I'd rather not put commas. I like to use spacing. So this is my new x. Okay, and then I'm just going to do y equals square root of x again. And now if I do that, I get square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16 is 4. And you note that now your matrix out here is going to be 1 by 3, just your output matrix, which is the same size as your input matrix. Okay, so one way to look at these functions, for example here, you're going to have a name of the function. In this case, the name of the function is sqrt, which is standing for square root. You're going to have an input argument, which is going to go inside the parentheses. In this case, it's going to be the variable x, or you can write the number directly into that. And your output's going to be your assignment. You're assigning this computation to the variable output y. So now you have your output argument, which in this case is going to be y. So you got y, output argument, sqrt is the function name, and within the parentheses are going to be your input arguments, in this case x. I'm just going to press up again. You could easily have typed 9 in here and not necessarily defined a variable, and that would have given you the same thing. Okay, so you can either put a variable in there, or you can define the numbers directly in there. So this is one example of one input, one output.